Hey there, so I am Avier Casmer. Let's see if I can spell that right. Just like that. And I am the project lead of a project called Exokit, which is dubbed a post-screen web browser. It's basically a complete re-implementation of web standards, except all it does is the 3D parts, the VR, the AR, the mixed reality. And it supports rendering to all sorts of devices, such as the headset that I'm wearing right now, which is a Vive. It supports the Magic Leap simulator. It supports Leap motion controllers for hands tracking, and it also supports keyboard and mouse. So what I'm showing you here is a little hack that I made over the last week. It's actually Ocarina of Time running in VR using WebAssembly. It's basically compiled from RetroArch, which is this really cool project that is kind of like a front end for a lot of different emulator backends. And right now we are using the N64 WASM build. And so what I basically did is I took that, I did a whole bunch of matrix hacking, and I got it working in VR. And yeah, there's still some glitches, as you can see. Sometimes things don't load. But what we have is, you can see, there we go, Ganondorf. All of this is actually 3D in the headset. And you can see some weird projection matrix stuff happening here to Link. But yeah, it's completely in VR, and there's a lot of really weird things that you learn from implementing something like this, such as, for example, there is an actual frustum that's happening here, where the game's camera is technically supposed to be about this area, and the view is projected outwards in like a ray, and the actual geometry is clipped exactly like that. And you can see here we have the overlay text that the Deku tree is like saying to Navi. And yeah, you can actually go down and read it if you're really crazy. But it's actually really small. The virtual camera for the N64 is right here, and you don't realize this when you're playing the game, but all of these menus are like 1 centimeter tall, and they're just overlaid in such a way that you can't tell they're tiny. It's just the projection matrix goes out that way. But yeah, here we are in VR, we're in Navi's view, and we're flying through the Kokiri forest. We have an overlay that's based on 3JS, and that's where you get these controllers. This is just 3JS that's on top of the rendering that's being done by RetroArch. What? Yeah, I remember that part. Yeah, it actually works pretty well. The only thing that you have to kind of get used to is the notion that there's like this stage in front of you. It's not like completely immersive because it's still using the Nintendo 64 camera to do everything. So you kind of have to get used to the idea of like you kind of watching a stage and walking around in it, rather than being an actual like FPS first-person shooter type experience. But other than that, I mean, this works really well. I was playing around earlier and I almost got inside the Deku tree. And it's amazing how like it refreshes all the experiences that you had as a kid when you're just getting started with coding. And you can see like things in a whole new light. In some ways it's worse because you can see like textures here are like really crappy. And there's like some weirdness here that you probably never even saw because it was hidden up by the projection matrix. And here we go. Like here, I'm pretty sure that the room view is actually just this flat texture that's over projected on top of Link. Yeah, see, that's quite the hack that they did right there. The actual geometry is just this green, blue, blob type stuff. But yeah, we have controls hooked up, and I'm just using the Vive controllers to walk around with Link. And here we go. This is our first view outside of our house in the Kokiri forest. There's Saria greeting us. And you can see the clipping that's happening to all the triangles behind her. We climb down this ladder. You actually see all of the things that the N64 does for performance. Like, for example, when you're viewing from this angle right here, you can't see the front of Link. But if you look over to see what's actually happening there, it's all these triangles have been culled. So they're not even being drawn, and that's a performance saving measure. Until, of course, you turn around, and now everything else is visible. So it's kind of cool that like you can see how the whole thing is projecting just as you walk around. Okay, so the first thing I guess we want to do is get the sword, as always, or maybe pick up some rocks. It's always fun. Like you almost want to go over here and pick them up yourself, but let's get Link to do it. Come on. And throw. No rupees. I think there's some rupees over here. Anyway, I was actually pretty surprised how playable this whole thing is. There's absolutely nothing done to the actual game itself. The only thing that I did was I rehooked up the matrices to come from not the emulator and not the game, but the headset matrices themselves, which are gotten from OpenVR. I developed this almost entirely in Exokit using JavaScript and like intercepting the GL calls. Just basically taking the function and overriding it in JavaScript to debug. Oh, we're going to get hit. To debug what all the different arguments are. I guess that's kind of the nice thing. And the main reason that I developed Exokit is because I wanted to develop things like this as if they were just a site. Where you have access to essentially the entire rendering pipeline, including GL, including native code, including node modules, alongside the browser, and alongside WebGL and HTML, and alongside WebAssembly. So we have the sword, and we can try out the menus now. It's kind of janky, because as you can see, it's being drawn over top of Link, but he should technically be there, but he's not. But it's still very playable, and I mean, these menus are perfectly sized. It's just some weird texture nonsense going on over here. But yeah, we equip our sword, and we just got hit by this boulder, which I can't see. There it is. And I got hit again. Hope I don't die. That would be a tragedy. No way. Is it even possible to die here? I hope not. Anyway, we can try some combat as well. It all just works. And I guess now we would start our quest for the shield. So yeah, I mean, this was pretty fun to do. It took, I don't know, a bit less than a week, and that includes research. I started on Monday, and then right now I'm just recording all this stuff. And it's Friday night. It was surprisingly easy to hook all this up. I kind of knew that it was going to be possible because I knew RetroArch is awesome, and like once you have GL calls that can draw, and I knew that it supported WebAssembly, so like once you have GL calls going through, then you know that VRifying anything and making it work with Magic Leap, whatever, it's just a matter of hooking in the right matrices in the right place. And I think I got this mostly correct. There's still a few warts here and there. But yeah, like for example, here there was some weird loading issue. I know there's a trick here where you can get past this guy with like this weird side jump. And yeah, of course the text back here is on this overlay. So to read it, you kind of have to really squint. Go back here and squint. Yeah, I kind of figured that this would be possible, but it almost surprised me that it was doable in like under a week. Because I mean, these are your childhood games, right? This is what you grew up with, and now you're like finally able to walk inside of it when the glitches stop dying down. Oh, and we're back. Is he still whining about something? I believe he is. If you want to something. But yeah, anyway, there's obviously a lot more development that needs to go into this to make it friendly for other stuff. But what I'd like to do with this is to take this console idea and turn it into an actual console where you drag and drop a file into your browser window, whether it's Exokit or something else. And you can just like pull out the cartridge, slot in a new one. And I'd like to make all of this work in multiplayer as well, if possible. I mean, there's a lot of challenges with setting up multiplayer for a game that was never meant to be multiplayer. Like, you pretty much can't just emulate it twice. You have to find some weird way of projecting the geometry, maybe. But yeah, that sounds like stuff that I'd like to really do. It's a lot easier, of course, with things like Genesis emulation, which, by the way, is also supported. It's a lot easier with Genesis and just like 2D stuff, because all you have to do there is basically take the actual video and stream it over the network. And it's not even that high res video, so it's easily doable. I mean, it's lower res than your camera. And of course, yeah, streaming the audio. There is no audio right now because I frankly hacked it out because it was interfering with the sync. The emulator tries to actually sync the audio buffers and stream them in a way that kind of slows down the entire emulation. Like, this whole thing wasn't meant to run at 90 FPS. It wasn't even meant to run at 60 FPS. It frankly runs at like 20 or less on the actual hardware. Most people don't remember that, but it was like really terrible. So I had to run a whole bunch of packs to get this to run at essentially 60 FPS and a binocular rendering. So yeah, I just had to figure out where the emulator was hooking up all these shader super parts, where the emulator was hooking up all of these various shaders, and I had to replace the transforms with my own matrices, which I pulled from Vive. I'd like to see if I can get my 40 rupees. Maybe not, that might take forever. One more thing that I'd like to do is visit the store. Because I know that had some weird, like, 2D, 3D weirdness about it. Ooh, I did not even know that that was up there. What's up there? That thing. Things that you notice when playing your Zelda in VR. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever gone up there when I was actually playing this game. And we have another glitch, which I'm not quite sure what that is. Could be some sort of garbage collection. But yeah, let's go into the store. There's that girl. She's telling us to see Target, which we've been doing this whole time. Thank you for the info. And we go into the store. I guess they didn't fill. Yeah. So this seems like a similar kind of situation to what we had back in our house, where there's an actual texture, but it's an overlay and it's completely fake. The real geometry is just non-textured, flat-shaded polygons. Except you'd never noticed that when you were playing this as a kid. There's that sign destruction physics. super advanced for the time, but of course all they did was, I think they just sliced this geometry in multiple places. See if we can figure out the trick. Yeah, there we go. You can kind of see that there's this slice through here, which is how it would be cut if you sliced it properly with your sword. I mean, it kind of reveals all the tricks that the game was playing on you. They didn't realize. But yeah, I think that was enough exploration for now. I am going to go back to developing Exokit now and getting more stuff like this working. If you guys want to join us, we have a Discord, and Exokit is an open source project, of course. It's just a browser like any other. It's like Chrome, except it's not like Chrome because it can't do 2D. It can only do 3D, and it can only do it in multiplayer. So we kind of have this concept called reality tabs, where you can load up a site like this. By the way, this is all just a website that you can visit. It's mukit.webmr.io, EMUKIT. But yeah, this is all just a site, and you can load it up as a reality tab, which means that you can have a multiplayer party of avatars, and you can basically enter the URL for the site, and then this site loads up all around you. And the idea is you can have multiple of these sites at the same time. Like, say you want to have Twitter open while you're playing your immersive Zelda emulation. And you can have like Twitter birds flying at you. And yeah, like shoo them away while still controlling Link. And then if you don't like Twitter, there's too many notifications, and you can close that just like a tab. That's why we call them reality tabs. But yeah, there's a lot of work to do that in relation to that. So I'm going to go head back. If you guys want to join us, then we have a Discord. You can probably just find that on the GitHub. And I'll leave a link for it as well on this video. But yeah, till then, peace out, as we Canadians say. Yes, I would like to save.